Hi. I'm a pretty joyous person.
Yes.
I get up every morning and I choose joy.
Yes.
That's my decision.
Yes.
And 2 weeks ago, a very dear, dear friend of mine was sentenced to 9.5 years in prison. That's 2 weeks ago today, actually. And it just sort of threw me out of this joy place.
Well, are you telling us, and it's all right if you are, that your joy is conditional on the
No,
conditions that you're
I'm
focused
back
upon?
into joy now. And it took me a while to get to that place. It took me a couple of days of
Do you think it's
processing.
do you think it's a good thing that when you look right at something that you absolutely do not want, that you do not feel vibrational agreement with it? In other words, do you think that negative emotion is a bad thing?
No, I don't.
Do you feel uncomfortable when you dip out of your joy?
No.
And
I mean, I don't feel permanently. I know that it's contrast for me. I understand that.
And so when you dip out of your joy, the reason that you don't sort of cave
Right.
is because you know that it's a temporary situation and that you have the ability to come back into alignment.
Yes, I do.
And so that knowledge gives
Absolutely.
you good sea legs so that you can weather the storms.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Good.
But so I guess my question to you is, why would somebody choose that? Why would somebody choose incarceration? I've talked to other people and they have given me their view of why they think that might happen. You know, the Buddhists choose to be, on one hand, they choose to be alone because they can't create in an environment with too much contrast. Of course, you know, you've got, I can't imagine the contrast in prison. That's something I don't even wish to contemplate. So why does someone choose that?
Well, why does someone choose cancer? Or why does someone choose anything that is unwanted? And we do not think that people choose it because they think that there's some good lesson in it or because some wonderful benefit will come from it. We think people choose it because they are sloppy in their thinking. We think people choose it because they become accustomed to thoughts that don't feel good and they are not aware of the guidance system that lets them know that they're moving towards something that they do not want. We think people choose it, things like that, because they look at that and they say yes, and they look at that and say no, and they say no, 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 I don't want that, long enough that they activate things in their vibration that they don't mean to activate in their vibration. In other words, people choose things that they do not want, and choosing it is an interesting word, but the reason that we are using it and we appreciate your using it is because people are choosing vibrationally things that they would not choose if they stopped to think about it. And the reason that they do that is because they've oriented themselves into that vibrational patterning. And the reason that they allow themselves to be oriented into that vibrational patterning is because they've lost sight of the importance of feeling good way back when somebody else convinced them that they should do what they said rather than what felt good to them. If you don't have some way of quantifying your journey, if you don't have some way of knowing that this thought and the good feeling that it gives you is moving toward what is wanted, and this thought and the bad way it feels is moving away from what you want or toward what you don't want, if you are not able to make that association, then you're making all kinds of choices blindly. It's like saying, why would someone who has a blindfold on their face walk off the stage and break their legs? And we'd say, well, it's pretty simple. They weren't looking where they were going. And you say, well, why weren't they looking where they were going? And we say, because they had a blindfold over their eyes. And you say, well, why did they have a blindfold over their eyes? Why would they put a blindfold over their eyes over these conditions? And we say, we suppose it's because they didn't care enough about sight. In other words, maybe it's because everybody else that they know is wearing blindfolds, and so they just sort of stumble around into things. But as you become a deliberate creator and as you begin to recognize that you can be or do or have anything that you choose, then it gets harder and harder to understand why people would choose things that they don't want. And we say they're choosing by default. They've learned a vibration. They are unaware of what the vibrational content is until it manifests. And by the time something manifests, then it's more difficult to unravel it because now you have to deal with the consequences of whatever the vibration was before. We don't want to sound dire about that because it doesn't matter where you are. You have the ability under any condition to find a different vibration and reverse whatever the situation is. But that's
Right.
the answer to your question. They do it because they are not paying attention to the way they feel. So they're offering vibrations which equal their point of attraction. And they've been for a long time walking systematically toward this incarceration or this cancer or whatever it is that they do not want. And the reason that they keep moving toward it, sometimes running toward it, is because they've become at one with the vibration that doesn't feel good.
And so it just didn't happen. For instance, it was an accident, an automobile accident situation. So that's not when the vibration started.
Well, long before that. Long before that. The manifestation is just the very tail end of a long string of vibrational offering, you see. When you feel negative emotion, stop and say, this negative emotion right now is an indication that the thought that I'm thinking right now is moving me in the direction of something that when I get there, I'm not going to like it. And I don't know how long it will be. Usually the intensity of the negative emotion is an indicator of how close you are to the manifestation. Just like when you're feeling pretty consistent elation over something, that's a very good indication that you're on the brink of something manifesting that is really pleasing you. And when you're feeling pretty consistent, strong negative emotion about something, that's a pretty good indication that you're getting close to the brink of a manifestation of something. Can't you just feel it coming? Haven't you heard yourself say, well, I saw that coming, or I felt that coming?
Oh, absolutely. And I think her gift to me in this, if it can be called a gift at all, is my absolute appreciation, total appreciation of everything now. I mean, I look around and here I am. I mean, here I am. I feel so powerful. I created this, and I know that this is where I want it to be.
Well, now let's take this a step further. So now you have someone that you care very much about who has created something that they really don't want and that you really don't want for them either. And so out of your awareness of what you don't want, you know what you do want.
Right.
So whether you talk about it now or not, you have been sending rockets of desire on behalf of your friend into your vibrational future.
Right.
So now the question that we want to put to you is, are you able to move your thoughts? It's easier for you not being incarcerated, thinking about someone. It's easier for you to hold a thought that feels good to you while you think about her than it may be for her to hold a positive thought.
Right.
And so as you hold her as your object of attention and you have an attitude of appreciation or even attitude of hopefulness, then you are actually vibrationally of great benefit to her. Anytime you hold anybody as your object of attention and you feel good while you do it, a vortex opens which assists in the improvement of whatever it is that you're focused upon, you see.
Oh, that's good news. That's what I thought. That was I have been doing that. I've been sending her good thoughts, energy, whatever you all call it, since it happened. And that has been her wish, that all of her friends do that for her.
All right, so then make peace you. In other words, we're talking to you, and so it's your energy is what is at issue here. So then, as you think about where she is, and you make peace with that, now that's where those other words that you said earlier begin to become of benefit to you. In other words, you say, well, this will give her an opportunity to really become introspective, and this will give her an opportunity for her busy life to sort of slow down. And it's interesting when something culminates in a very powerful way like that, because clearly she wasn't aware of the vibrational offering under the conditions that she was living, and now maybe she'll have an opportunity to stop and reflect on more things. And so it's possible that this could be one of the best things that ever happened to her. In other words, it's possible that where she might have been headed if it were not for this experience was into something that would be more permanent or less possible to turn around. And I can feel the power of where she is and of who she is and of who she really is in terms of source energy. And so you just soothe yourself, soothe yourself, soothe yourself. Don't try to make light of it to her or even to others. Just work to soothe yourself, because one of the things that we notice in situations like this is that you, because of your determination to feel good and because of your ability to do it, you've recovered rather quickly over something that's pretty extreme. So as you bring yourself consistently, and you're going to have to work at it in order to stay there, as you bring yourself into this better feeling place about that, you're going to achieve a vibration that's going to be of tremendous benefit to you and to your friend that others, in fact most others who are aware of what's happening with her, will not understand. And so you're sort of going to want to keep your lightheartedness about this whole situation to yourself, or others who are peeking in at it will sort of confront you on how it is that you can be talking like that under those conditions. And so you sort of want to keep yourself for a while until you're sure you're stable in this place of privately celebrating what's going on. And then in time you'll be so stable that you can begin talking to others, even to your friend, about it.
Well, I've even found that I've had to stay away from some of her other friends who aren't able to recognize that they need to be in a different place about it. They want to be in a place of profound sadness about it.
Well, it's a natural thing, but here's the thing. You can't even focus upon them and maintain your vibration. In other words, this is what we mean by this selfishness. You've got to be so selfish that you don't empathize with a friend in pain. And the thing that we really want you to hear is that if you are able to maintain that selfishness enough that you don't empathize with a friend in pain, you're going to connect with source energy while you hold this friend who is in pain in vibrational. In other words, even though your friend is in pain, you're not going to be focused upon that aspect of your friend. So in your connection to source energy, as you focus upon other aspects of your friend, there is a vibrational stream that actually helps your friend. That's what power of influence is, you see. Somebody's going to dominate the vibration here. And many things have been dominating her vibration other than her intent to live happily ever after. And so we think that when something dramatic like this happens and someone powerful like you holds her as your object of attention, a lot of good can come from that. And eventually you'll be able to convey it to her in a way that she will be able to find the good in it also. And it is our expectation that in far less time than what she's been sentenced to, she will be released. And in far less time than that, she will begin feeling better. And in far less time than that, as you began here, good things will begin to come from this. And she will be a very strong advocate one day for the statement that you do create your own reality. And there are a lot of people who will hear that. There are a lot of people who are creating a reality that they do not want, who resent with every fiber of their being those of you who are creating a reality that you do want. In other words, there's nothing more irritating than to be living something that you really don't want to live and watching someone who is really living what they want to live, you see. So what we're getting at here, and we'll say it in as profound of words as we can, save yourself. In other words, find vibrational alignment and don't allow yourself to dip into guilt about it. And then use your powerful influence to assist her in coming out of it. She will find a release of bondage while she is incarcerated, because the bondage that is binding so many of you is not the bondage of being behind bars. It's the bondage of offering a vibration and not knowing you're offering. It's the bondage of not feeling good when you want to feel good, but believing that you've got to change a whole lot of circumstances before you can feel good. And there's no greater bondage than that, than to believe that you've got to change that and that and that and that and that before you can feel better, and not having the ability to change that and that and that and that and that. So the two of you in this co-creation have got yourself in what we consider to be the perfect situation, because you can't change that. In other words, you can't shout loud enough, you can't scream loud enough, you can't change that condition. You've got to find a way of finding a vibrational adjustment to a condition. You're going to teach each other, as you promised before you came into these bodies, what unconditional love really is. It's feeling love and being connected to source in spite of the condition. And that's a book worth writing.
Oh, thank you, because I know she's going to write one. She did say that. That's what
Very
was
good.
her goal about this. I have
Very
one
good.
more question. Who is Scarecrow?
Well, there isn't anything that Esther likes much more than Wizard of Oz. And she loves Dorothy
me too.
saying,
Yeah, me too.
I
Absolutely.
love
Yeah.
you most of all, Scarecrow. And so Jerry and Esther say it just about every day to one or the other. In other
I
words,
love
it's
that too.
something that's very active in their vibration. And they were just wondering how many of you are up to the playful speed that they are.
Absolutely. I think we all are. But thank you so much
Yes,
for
indeed.
everything.
Yes, indeed.